Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Glad to have you guys here. Today is the 16th, Tuesday the 16th of April 2024. Thank you for tuning in. Well, Trump, he's up in the whole thing again. Another one of the trials, another one of them, one of many trials, different trials that are going on. This is the hush money one. And it says this Trump-hating judge won't let me respond to people. It says Donald Trump returned Tuesday to a New York courtroom as the jury selection process in his historic hush money trial enters its second day. Former president and presumptive GOP nominee began the day by rattling against the trial. Anyway, what's going on here is they're looking for jurists, I guess. To try to find for this trial. It says the first day of Trump's Manhattan trial ended on Monday with no one picked to sit on the 12-person jury. As one of 6 alternatives, dozens of people were dismissed after saying they didn't believe they could be fair. But a second batch of about 100 of these prospective jurors have yet to be questioned. And here's the thing. There's no other individual in the history of the world that creates this thing where I'm going to say that people either hate him or love him. You know, and it's very hard for somebody to be fair if they fall in either one of those categories. And so this is a very unusual in my mind, because how do they find somebody that's actually impartial? Unless they find somebody that's been living in a cave for the last 10 years and doesn't even know who Donald Trump is. But anyway, they're going to try to find, anyway, this is just a very, very unusual. This whole thing is just, what can I say about this whole thing? It's a whole big lump that's been going on with all these trials and stuff. What can I even choose to say about that? Israel's diplomatic offensive urges sanctions against Iran. Well, here's the thing, guys, is Israel has got their war cabinet right now, and they're trying to decide what to do, because there was a big strike by Iran. They launched a whole bunch of missiles into Israel, and most of them were stopped. Like 99% of them were stopped by missile defense systems, which costs an awful lot of money to bring all those missiles down. It says Israel's launched a diplomatic offensive against Iran, calling for sanctions against the Islamic Republic. Iran's been through so many sanctions, it's just like sanctions heaped on top of sanctions over the years. But they're also divided. Israeli war cabinet right now is divided between restraint and revenge, and they don't know which side they're going to flop on. The heater came on. It scared me. Anyway, Israel's war cabinet is locked between restraint and revenge. They just don't know right now. They don't know which way they're going to flop, what they're going to do. It says they vowed retribution, but also they're urged to show restraint. Israel has yet to agree on its response to this drone and missile attack that was carried out on its territories by Iran. I can tell you one thing, if they go in and they do something like bomb on Iranian territory or whatever, then Iran will respond back again. And then they'll have to respond back again. Because that's what war is. It's a tit for tat sort of thing, you know. And so let's just see what happens with this. But if I mean, we could sit here and we could argue over whether or not Iran has nuclear weapons, but there's an awful lot of other things that people just haven't even thought of about these things. One of the things you do know that Iran has is they have a lot of nuclear material. They know they have that for sure. They've been enriching uranium for gosh knows how long now. So they got a lot of fissionable material, nuclear material. And they do know they got a lot of missiles, and a lot of these missiles can travel at speeds, unbelievable speeds. And those weren't the missiles that they were using. The missiles that they were using in this attack the other night, these drones, they only fly 90 miles an hour. But the other missiles Iran's got fly at Mach 10. Well, you know, Mach 1 is like, what, 7 or 8 times the speed of 90 miles an hour. And then you go up to Mach 10, you're getting into something that's much harder to hit. And that's why they had so much success. The United States, the forces that were helping to protect Israel and Israel's Iron Dome, why they had so much success was because those drones, this got a little motor on them. They're very similar to, the technology is very similar to model airplaners. You know, you ever go to a place and see model airplane guys flying their model airplanes? And they go across the sky with a little motor in them. Well, the drones do the same thing. They go they get a little motor in them, like a little gasoline engine. They go about 90 miles an hour. They're easy to knock out of the sky. It doesn't take real high tech, but they use those interceptors. And interceptors cost about probably 10 times what the drone costs just to knock it down. And if they miss the first time, they have to throw up another interceptor. But money is no problem for the West. They just print more. just start up the printers. So anyway, this whole thing, what we're not thinking about is other things that Iran might have, like they have nuclear material, radioactive isotopes and stuff. They've been enriching uranium for gosh knows how long. They got missiles. Gosh knows they might have other kinds of warfare that, I mean, what am I hinting at here? I'm hinting at there's other things that are WMDs that aren't just nuclear bombs. You know, there's I mean, when we're talking about Iran here, we're talking about, do they have any compulsion not to use, I mean, I'm just, not to use things that they might have other than just a nuclear bomb. But they might have a nuclear bomb by now. I don't know what in the heck they were doing if they don't have one by now, because they've had the material to make one for a long time now. And they're very smart about stuff like that. If they can build some of the most high-tech, sophisticated missile systems in the world, then, and of course too, if they did make a nuclear weapon, they're not going to tell the world, hey, you know what, 1,000 feet below the ground here in this underground base, we're building a, no, they're going to keep it secret, you know, and they got underground facilities everywhere. Under Iran, I mean, you know. Now, we're going to talk about something else here. We're going to talk about the horrible situation, and that's how it's described in this article. A new report exposes a horrifying situation. It says we've kicked out an extra 41% of the money supply over the last couple of years, over the last 4 years, and inflation has gone through the roof, evidently, in this article, basically what it's saying. And this is creating situations for Americans. The result of all this money printing has become known in the online media as Biomics. It says it hasn't worked out well for most Americans. People are making major financial sacrifices in order to live at a basic level. Housing has become so burdensome in America that families can no longer afford other essentials, including food and medical care. Nearly 1 in 5 homeowners and renters reported skipping meals to afford their housing. This is what we're moving into, a society where people are going to start, ordinary, law-abiding people, at a certain point, are going to start turning to things that they've never done before through desperation. It can actually, times like this, can actually create a new type of criminal element, a smart criminal. And then they can organize together. Look at this. Look at how stuff's gone up. 80% up for drinks. Eggs are up 63%. Sugar's up 53%. Dish soap's up 46%. Sandwich bread 34%. Cereal 34%. Pizza's up 37%. It says, how far does $100 go at the grocery store after 5 years of inflation? Not very far. Basically, what it buys you is one bag of groceries now. You carry it out in one arm. Now, I remember a time when $100, you go into the grocery store and you could fill 2 carts full. Now you can carry it out in one arm. And this sickness within our society is only going to get worse, and it's going to keep squeezing the people tighter and tighter. The final result is the people will get to a point where they say, well, we got nothing to lose any longer, because if we're squeezed any tighter than this, we're all going to starve to death. And then finally you get to that point, and the people have had enough. And you know, we're not there yet. We're not to that point yet. But I've called it for a long time in my show a human stampede when you do get to that point. And it comes all at once. And where it can start, who knows where it can start. Just one guy, you know, he's fed up. And then the next thing you know, there's a dozen people that are fed up. And they're telling a dozen other people how fed up they are. And each one of them, and that dozen's telling a dozen other people. And then the next thing you know, it spreads out from there. And it just turns into something that is a grassroots sort of, out of nowhere it comes, and it just takes the world by storm. And its point of origin is impossible to find, because its point of origin was created from the problems that were there inherent in the system, that people just couldn't stand it any longer. Because, you know, I mean, if you're boiling a frog in water, sooner or later, that frog is going to yelp. He's going to try to jump out of the water sooner or later when it gets hot enough. Anyway, so moving on, we're going to take a look. What is this? I had this article on here. Oh, yeah, America's top brass in Europe. Yeah, he's talking about Ukraine, this guy. Well, he's saying that Ukraine could be outgunned by Russia in a matter of weeks. 10-1, they could be outgunned. You know, I also read another article this morning that Russia right now is much more powerful than they were when they started the war with Ukraine. Their military is much more powerful right now. And Ukraine could be outgunned by 10-1 in a matter of weeks, the United States general has said. America's top brass in Europe, General Christopher Was it switch the page on me automatically? Christopher Cavoli, head of U.S. European Command. So then what do? Say Ukraine starts to lose this war. Then the question's going to fall on NATO. Just like right now, the question is falling on Israel. What do? Iran launched an attack. Now what do? Well, that question's going to start to fall on the commanders in Europe if Ukraine starts to fall. They're going to have that question. What do? Do we let Russia have Ukraine, or do we step in somehow and try to stop this? And how would they step in without widening the conflict enormously, possibly even to World War III? Now today, the silver price today is $28.25. It's down 56 cents today. It almost has a feeling to me like they're trying to manipulate the price lower today. It almost feels like that. I don't know if that's what it is, but it has that feel, that same old feel of times gone by when we've seen them spoof the price down. I don't know if that's what they're doing. I'm just saying it's got that feel to it. It looks like when they used to spoof the price down, but I'm just saying. Now gold today, we're looking at 23.84. It's up $2.80 on the day so far. I think this rally is in its infancy, to tell you the truth. Early days for the gold and silver market. Still early days. Crypto ain't doing so well though. Bitcoin today is 61,878. 61,000. So it's shed about 10,000 from where it was about a week ago. It was trying to go for 72,000. Now it's 61,008. Ethereum 3022. So it's $3,022 for Ethereum. And looking at XRPs at 48.7 cents. Now the Dow Jones Industrial Average is up today, 101 points, 37,837. And looking at crude oil today, and it's up 14 cents at 85.55 for crude oil. Bonds and rates, we got those rising yields again today, but not as much today. U.S. 10-years at 4.65. It's up 2.9 basis points. And the U.S. 30-years at 4.75. It's up 1.9 basis points. Finishing off with the dollar index at 106.25. Strong. Thank you guys for listening to my show. Like and subscribe. And you guys have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.